Okay, we are back this time. In this video lesson we are going to have a look at the snare of the track, or in this case, clap. And I'm going to show you a couple of useful techniques for your own productions while doing that. So last time we did the hi-hat section, and also we did the kick and bass. Let's have a listen. What we want to do is we want to pull in this fader while we are listening to place this clap at first. So let's do that. Let's have a look at... Actually, we do not need to use a third-party equalizer. Okay, so we have a little bit going on there, but not much. We can get rid of that by low cutting that with a very slight curve, 12 decibel per octave. And we set it in this case to 391. That seems quite extreme, but since it's a shallow curve, that's not that extreme. Okay, so what can be used on this? First of all, the snare can be in mono, or we can use an imager, of course. And since this is an important element, well, I'm gonna split it into two here. And click sterilize. I'm gonna pull down the first one. Now I'm adjusting the cutoff frequency, or the separation frequency. As you can hear, if we pull this one down, then we get more middle frequencies. It comes more out of the mid. I mean, like it doesn't have so much stereo content. Actually, I'm gonna split that up even more. And since that reduces the volume, we can actually pull the fader here up a little bit, just a decibel. Okay. So, of course, another thing that you can do, keep in mind that all of those things are potentially not necessary. I'm just showing you possibilities here. So, compressor. The compressor has, of course, lots of information and knobs. So, what is really important to shape the snare? The release, the attack, and the ratio, and of course, most important, the threshold. So the first thing always actually in a compressor would be the threshold. We set the threshold. Actually, I can keep it at that for that moment. And I'm pulling it down until I see the gain reduction meter working. And we can pull it down a bit more, so that we actually hear what we are doing. So as you can see, if you increase the attack, then the compressor starts working after a couple of milliseconds. And what you effectively do is like you put more emphasis on the transient, on the beginning of the snare. Actually, we can do that, but let's hear how it sounds with a little bit less aggressive threshold value. Like this, you could shape the snare, but there are other ways to do that. You can just experiment with different values, and if you use extreme threshold values, then you should be able to really hear the change that occurs when you do that. Let's actually bypass that for a moment. Alternatively, as always, the volume shaper is a possibility. So we can use it, theoretically, to shape the signal. And we can mix the two signals. It's another way how you always can shape signals, of course. Let's have a listen if we both activate. It's definitely too much with both of them on. Okay, now the next thing that we can do. I'm going to show you a couple of different possibilities. Of course, we can use our exciter. Let's try retro. That's a pretty extreme saturation effect. Of course, what you can also do is you can go inside the sound and work with an equalizer. That, of course, is always a valid thing. So let's recap what we did so far. We used an imager to modify the stereo field. Actually put it more into the middle. But what I'm also noticing here is this little attack. But okay, we're going to live with that for now. Okay. We may have to go back to the snare when we have the rest of the elements. also in the mix. So for example here, relevant elements are probably those two. Let's pull them up for a second. Good, so that's it with the clap. You know what? As a little bonus, I'm going to show you another distortion. And that's the good old Quadrafuzz. One, actually. It's a bit wonky, but it works. So there's some things that you can do there. Of course, this is a very extreme way, but it definitely changes the appearance of the whole sound. Let's have a look at the volume. So the snare is definitely an element that is, you know, it depends where you put it. It changes a huge deal of the whole feel of the track. So some styles, you know, require it to be quite loud. And even louder than a lot of other elements. But in this track, I think it sits fine a couple of decibels away from the kick and bass. If I increase the volume to that degree, then I definitely have to also go back to the EQ. Okay, let's leave it at that. I think I showed a bunch of techniques. Now we did quite a bit. So if we So a lot of that stuff is, in my opinion, probably not necessary, but in order to show you a wide range of techniques, I did that. We could easily remove all of that and just place the snare here from the volumes. But that would be quite a short tutorial lesson in this case. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I see you guys in the next video.